No, I'm excited too. Thank you guys so much for being here this evening. I hope you had a great Thursday. Welcome to our first digital marketing panel of the academic year. So excited for this. Is not working. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. We'll see what happens. Oh no. Yeah. Blue? Okay. Yeah, we're gonna figure this out later, I guess. So thank you guys for joining us for our first digital marketing panel of the year. I see a lot of familiar faces here. Really happy to see you, whether you're here because you're a digital marketing certificate student, whether you're here just to learn a little bit more, if you're here for extra credit. Just happy to see your faces here, and I hope this is a really great session for everyone. I'm actually going to take a back seat for most of this because we have some amazing moderators and some really great panelists that I'm excited to introduce you to. So first, I'm going to introduce you to a current MSCM student and marketing consultant, Susie Frosto.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Well, we want to first find out a little bit about you before we talk about us. So the first thing we want to find out is how many people here are marketing students? Woohoo! That'd be great, awesome. Business students? Okay. Also, how many people are here? You know what you want to do when you graduate, like you know you want to work in an agency, for example. Okay. What if you don't really know what you want to do when you graduate? You think you want to be in marketing, you kind of want to do something. All right. So Professor Crawford and I were talking before this, and this, quite honestly, is the conversation that we wish we would have had when we first started. What we're here to do, everybody up here, is to tell you they want to give you their insights, tell you about what they do, kind of give you the good, the bad, the ugly about working in an agency. Sometimes it sounds like it's a lot of fun. Well, I don't know if you've all seen Mad Men. It looks really great. It looks like, liquid punches. Who would want that? It's not necessarily like that. Or if you work, for a big company, like there's a lot of food companies, like, I wanted to work for Kraft when I was growing up, like that was my gold star. So sometimes you do what you need to do, you graduate, you get the job, and then, oh my goodness, it's not what you thought it was, and you might have to make some changes. So what we're here to do today is to answer the questions of what is it really like to work for an agency? What's it like to be in-house? So again, we're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to be realistic. Everybody up here is super excited to share their experience. There's a lot of great experience here at the table. And with that, we're going to start with introductions. I'm going to start with Kelsey, and we're going to talk about what we do, who we are, and why we're here today. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Newman. I'm a senior marketing student here at NIU. I'm also pursuing my minor in business innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as the digital marketing certificate. I am also the Vice President of Women in Business Professions, which is a student organization here on campus. I can see a lot of friendly faces in here. Just a little bit about that organization because it has been a very important part of my college career. I joined it as a freshman, and as I said, I'm a senior now, and I've been on the e-board for about a year now, so I've kind of worked my way up. It's just a really fun organization that promotes women in the workplace through a variety of networking, service, fundraising, and member development events. It's just a really fun organization, brings women together, and really just enforces and promotes women in the workplace. So if just had to put a little bit of a plug. If you're looking to join an organization and get involved on campus, it's a really great one, and I highly recommend. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to say who we are, who we work for, what we do, and how long we've been doing it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Gavin. I'm the Senior Digital Marketing Manager at an association called the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association based out of Elgin. I've been in the digital marketing space for just about 10 years now, with my current organization for 3.5 years. Am I forgetting anything? All right, thanks for coming in.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Jury. I'm currently serving as a technology project manager / scrum master. I'm a previously intelligence analyst or financial. Been in the digital marketing space for about 10 years now, and with
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Kina. I am the National Director of Brand Creative for Senior Lifestyle Corporation, which is a senior housing company I work with. And we have about 100 locations across the country. We started in Chicago, though. And I've been in the marketing industry for 11 years and working with this company for 11 years in many different roles. I've been in this particular seat for a year now.
Hi, I'm Peggy Lawson. I'm the Senior Director of Retail Media at Jellyfish. My current client is Bissell. I've worked at various different agencies across different clients, and I've been in the agency world for about 7 years.
I'm Ashley Desmond. I'm an associate director of Paid Social. I also work in the agency field. I've been working in digital marketing for 10 years now and in my current role for a year.
There's gonna be a lot of this. We have one and it works. That's what you do. Yeah, you find out what works, what doesn't. Okay, so just to quickly give everybody a visual, raise your hand if you consider yourself in-house. Got it? Raise yourself if you consider yourself agency. Okay, that's what this is about today. Again, learning about what it's like to work in-house versus agency. And our first question is about definitions. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask our panelists how they define working in an agency or how they would define working in-house. And yes, you're close by proximity, the first Elizabeth.
Man, here we go. All right, so again, I am in-house, and I would define it as brand immersion. So I live, eat, breathe, sleep this brand. It's all that I've known. There are different facets to it. So we have a non-for-profit facet, we have a media publication, an expo, and a membership and education. So there's a lot of dynamics to it, but it still falls under that FMA brand.
And I'm also in-house, and that's all I've ever known. I would also define it as brand immersion, but also, the mindset of buy-in, right? You have that buy-in into the success of that company where, if you are external to that company, you still have a particular set of buy-in, it just looks a little different, right? And that buy-in is incredibly important as you are, motivated to work within that brand, expand that brand, and grow it day by day.
Those are great. I'm also in-house and I have to go third here, but the thing I would add is, in addition to the things you guys said, is that it has to do with brand innovation too. So you are not working with lots of different brands, you're working with your brand. So often you in the marketing department in your company are tasked with being responsible for what is the next iteration of this particular brand. And you get some of that, I think, on the agency side as well, but you're so entrenched in one particular brand, company, success, ROI measurement that you are also tasked with what does the future of this particular company need to look like.
So I'm an agency, and I think working at an agency is about being a strategic partner to your client. They give you goals, things that they want to achieve through media, whether it be at the retailers, on TV, on social, and you're working with them to execute with excellence to make sure you're getting their name out there, you're getting people buying their products and getting them the results that they expect.
I'm also agency. The way I explain it is like I work for Monks, but my client is Veeam currently. So Monks is signing my paycheck, but I am doing marketing on behalf of Veeam. So like how you mentioned, they will give me their goals and I'll make strategic recommendations. Currently, I only have one client, but it's also typical in agency. You might have several. So Veeam is sometimes not my only priority. Which is a little bit different than in-house, that brand is your only priority. So that's one of the biggest differences.
Okay, pass on down. Question number 2.
What is one word to describe your typical work?
It's gonna be fun.
So mine would be strategic. So everything that I do ladders back up to the business goals, whether that's in the non-for-profit sector or for our expo and media. These goals are set ahead, so I understand what they are, and I understand the implementation of everything that I do, and how it actually helps ladder back up to those.
I think that for me, if I were to answer this question, summing up 10 plus years of experience, not just, I guess, like putting it with country, but like overall in the various companies I worked with, nonprofit and for profit, things like that, I would just say chaotic, but there's a control to the chaos here. But like as we know, if you are a marketing person, you know that like what exists today is potentially not going to exist tomorrow. It's not going to be industry standard tomorrow. Something is in beta, ready to take it over, and there's the next and the next. So that chaos is expected, it needs to be anticipated, and it also to some degree has to be welcomed.
I would say variety. That's my word. I think that when you're on the in-house side, that you are more often going to be on a leaner marketing team. They've likely hired a smaller group, and then you get to work with some fabulous agency partners a lot of the time. There's fewer and fewer companies that are hiring a whole in-house marketing department. And that's true for my company, my organization. So a lot of what I do changes on a day in, day out basis. I may spend one day doing nothing but talking to our print agency because we have a quarterly campaign that has got to hit print, and I work in senior housing. And if I don't get those mailers out, they're not going to hit their on time. But the next day, I might travel for a photo shoot and video shoot because our digital agency is looking to run a major digital campaign. And so now I've got to go and I've got to get on a plane. And I've got to get out there and help them stage it so we can get those digital assets. So a lot of variety happens in my day in-house because there are fewer of us in-house in the organization hired to tackle all those particular projects.
Kill your word. I'm gonna say variety too. But I think it's a little bit different than in-house because my variety, I think I've had multiple roles in agency. So if I say it as an associate, I pulled a lot of data. I paced our campaigns. I made optimizations. As a senior associate, I know a little bit more of that, but at a higher level as a manager, we gave client goals and I made sure that the associates, the senior associates were laddering up to those goals. Then as a director, I drive the overall partnership with our vendors and also with our clients. So one day I might have a budget issue and that's all I do that day. The next day I might be checking a lot of my team's work. And the next day I might have one-on-ones with my whole entire team. So there's a lot of variety, but also a lot of learning as well too. Because I work in retail media. There's so many retailers and all of them do everything a little bit differently. So you learn a lot and you learn how to work with different.
So my word is variable, so very similar to the others, but yeah, I mean, working at an agency, it's something different every day. So of course you have your scheduled meetings with your clients, but oftentimes you will have a fire drill where the client asks a ridiculous request. They have a question, they have an urgent campaign that suddenly needs to launch by 5 p.m. that day and they tell you at 1 p.m. You know, my associate comes to me and says, I screwed up the budget real bad, we need to meet. There are all kinds of situations. Sometimes the ad buying platforms have issues. That has had blackouts before, which is really messed up the day for us. So every day is something different. So you have to be willing to adapt and do what it takes to right the ship.
All right, so I'm gonna tell a little story before we get into this next question, which is about what led you to choose an agency role versus in-house. So, I, way back when, I first started out of school, I wanted to work for an advertising agency. It was my goal in life. It was just something that I had a passion about. I loved brands. A little bit older in the room. I watched a lot of TV growing up. I was what you called a latchkey kid. I'd go home and just sit and I knew brands. I loved watching commercials and I could tell you all of the different jingles. I could draw the packaging for you. I wanted to work for an advertising agency. So I graduated and I got my dream job. Downtown Chicago, awesome agency, amazing. And then something happened. There's something called these clients on the other side, and they want things and they have ideas and whatnot. It's like, well, wait a minute. I didn't realize what I truly enjoyed, which was kind of the in-house side, the brand side, the branding. So what we want to find out is, how did you choose and how did your path get you to in-house versus, working for an agency? And again, just so you're clear here, there's no wrong answer. It's about what your passion is. And that's what we want to find out.
Awesome, thank you. So, I'm gonna say that the in-house life chose me. I didn't choose it. I didn't go seeking one out over the other, but that was just kind of what landed in my lap. And I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and that I was drawn to it because I really wanted to focus on one thing. I really wanted to become so immersed in the brand and the business that in-house just made sense to me, even if I didn't know it at the time. But to build off of your story, when I went to school, I did my undergrad in downtown Chicago. I wanted to work for Leo Burnett. You read about case studies in your class. I thought it was just the bee's knees to work there. And wouldn't you know that a position popped up and I applied, and 15 years later, I still haven't heard back. So again, in-house chose me.
I guess I'll kind of say the same. I am from Bloomington, Normal area. There's not a lot of agents over there. And so when I left college, as an undergrad, I decided I want to move to Chicago. It just wasn't my thing. I grew up in a very rural, small town in central Illinois, and I just preferred that. I wanted to get a good job, but I wanted to get married and have kids when I was in my 20s. That was more important to me. That is in no way a judgment to any other differing opinions. That was just what. And so I stuck with in-house opportunities, and it allowed me to be more immersed in a single brand. It allowed me to focus and leverage the background that I had in the social science side of marketing and branding, and allowed me to really invest my time and energy into that one brand and watch it grow.
So before I chose in-house, I had also worked for an agency. And there are a couple things I loved about in-house that felt like a better fit for me and where I felt I could have a greater impact in what I wanted to do in the field of marketing. The first one was I have a graphic design background. And when, you're talking about this is what the client wants, and so you said, that's what you have to do when that client comes through and says, that is so cool and fun, and I want it to go back to the way I wanted it, right? I wanted to get to do work that felt creative and impactful and meaningful. And not to say that clients don't come to you with that kind of work, but I didn't want to get assigned a bank client for the rest of the next 5 years. And all I can ever do is do iterations of that bank client's work. I wanted to get to be so inside of brands that I actually got to suggest how that brand could innovate or change or reshape or redefine, or to know the brand well enough that I knew what it looked like to correctly color outside the lines or think outside the box. And I think that's a lot easier to do when you're so immersed on I don't know why it keeps cutting out. When you're so immersed on the brand side that you can kind of think those thoughts. The other thing that I really loved was that being in-house means that you have a lot closer interaction with a lot of other departments. And so I liked that it offered me more of an opportunity to learn about other departments and disciplines and be a little bit more of a generalist. I preferred getting to be a generalist and learn a lot of things as opposed to specializing in one particular area. So I loved that in-house let me do a lot of that.
So I graduated December 2017. Thought I was gonna get a job in January. Nobody's hiring in January. They just got their budget. So I was looking for jobs. I started at my job in April. I had to move back into my parents' house after college. But all the jobs that were open were traditional sales jobs. I had a sales internship. That's not something I wanted to do. So I actually got the job, my first agent job, because somebody who I tutored at NIU in, business calc, I don't know if that's still a class you guys take. She worked at an agency. Yeah. She worked at an agency, she referred me, I got an interview, I interviewed with 3 different teams. I think I actually interviewed, you were on, Tyson? Yeah, so interviewed for 3 different teams, ended up in Kimberly Park, and 7 years later, I'm still at it.
Yeah, I'd say the agency life chose me. I applied to both in-house and agency jobs and just happened to get an agency job. And I ended up really liking the environment. I liked that there was a variety of clients, the different challenges every day, getting to do different things, but within my specialization. So I didn't really want to be like a broader generalist. I really liked being able to specialize, so that's, I think, what's drawn me to it. And I felt as I've gotten like higher up in my career and been at different agencies, I'm at one now where that is that balance, because that is a concern I had as well. Like, I want to get married and have kids someday. Like, how is that going to look when the client is emailing you at 10 p.m.? But it all depends on your client and your agency. So you can find that balance in the agency life. It might just be a little harder.
Traveling Mike.
Okay, so for this question, we're gonna start with agency. So the next question is, where do you feel you've had the greatest opportunity to grow your skills? An agency versus in-house, and why? So if you've worked in either area, you can kind of highlight the differences, or if you've only worked in the one, just highlight the opportunities to grow in the industry.
So with agency, I'd say I've had the opportunity to grow just from being in situations and also volunteering. So as you grow up the ranks, obviously you'll get more opportunities, but it's really putting your hand up. So if someone's like, oh, I'm working on this additional project and need help, I volunteered for it. If someone was like, oh, someone on my team is out on vacation, even though it wasn't my client, I volunteered to help cover while they were out. I was in an unfortunate situation where my boss and then her boss ended up going out on maternity and paternity leave earlier than expected, which meant I had to grow and suddenly be the director on the team and lead them. So that helped me grow a lot. So scary, but that ended up being good for my career. But yeah, it's like you have to just raise your hand, and that's how you're going to grow. Your agency should also encourage growth. So they should have days, or at least some hours set aside for you to be able to learn and keep up to date on what's the latest with, Meta, Google, LinkedIn, et cetera.
Yeah, I would say, when I first started at my first agency, about 2 weeks in, they had you take a whole week and just learn about the different media types, because there's TV, there's social, there's retail media, which I do, there is also print, there's so many media types. So they wanted you to become a well-rounded media person. So you took a week, you got some classes, and you ended it with a presentation. Felt like I was in college again. Then I think also throughout my career, most of the agencies, they have partners with some of the vendors. And with that partnership, they have to have a certain amount of people at the agency who are certified in their platform. So at my last company, we would have certification days where a Friday a quarter, we would just go and get certified. My current company, within the first 2 months I'm there, I have to get 20 certifications, so I have to find the time for that. So I think it's continuing to grow, taking those certifications, but they also encourage you to go on LinkedIn, find some articles, write POVs, get those to your clients. So you're really being that strategic partner, and you're thinking larger than just your client, just your role. You're thinking about how your media is impacting your client's business.
So on the in-house side, I think you do a little bit less of that kind of skill development growth, a little bit more of your, in terms of hard tactical marketing skills. It's a little bit more to do with soft skills and the ability to translate marketing ideas and concepts and help it make sense in terms of ROI, bottom line, strategic financial impact, and kind of piloting the why behind where the marketing dollars are going. Sometimes on in-house, marketing can become a little bit of the bad guy because people want to know where all that money went. Marketing tends to have a really big budget in the greater company scheme, at least my company does. A lot of people are always like, what's marketing doing? And so a lot of the growth I've gotten to experience on the in-house side is getting better and better at communicate the why behind what I'm doing. Someone will say the investor wants to know why we're not using more marketing AI at this community. And so my job now is to go connect with my agency partners and communicate in a way that makes sense to them what our marketing strategy is around AI, whether that or not they even know what that really means. There's a lot to do with growing your ability to connect marketing to different departments and business concepts that make sense to that investor partner and your financial goals.
So for me, you heard me say that I am currently in a technology project manager role / Scrum Master. I pivoted away from the marketing department. I'm still involved, but I moved over because I wanted the chance to grow. Having a strong background in digital marketing also meant that I was very much partnering with the technology side as we wanted to grow not only in the advertising way, but we wanted to be able to provide to prospects and clients more digital opportunities to interact with their policies and their finances and things like that. And so I decided that I wanted to make that pivot so that I could better learn and grow in the tech space. And I was able to do that because my company provided all of those things, right, in that department. I could make the shift. I'm actually in what's called a leadership rotation. So each year I will change positions for the next 3 years and assume either a standard leadership role, like supervisor, things like that, or a servant leader role. Either way, it will be in leadership and leading different teams that are involved on the technology side. And I say all of that just to again reiterate that the only reason I was able to do that and take advantage of that was because of in-house side of things and being under that umbrella.
And to round out, from the in-house perspective, I keep saying it, but you really get to understand the business. And someone I think said it before, we tend to run pretty lean, in an in-house, marketing setting. So I get a chance to wear a lot of hats. And sometimes that causes a little bit of chaos. But in the long run, I really do get to sharpen those skills. I just had someone come to me, you talked about communication. I just had someone from the education department come to me and say, we accidentally cut a course that apparently was really popular. You need to put a message out there. Well, I'm not gonna tell people that you did that. So all of a sudden at, 4:59 on a Wednesday, I am writing copy for an email saying, hey, we have these really cool courses, come take them. No, they didn't disappear out of our bookstore. Don't know what you're talking about. And so I do sometimes get to put on a different hat and create content, even though I am more in that strategical analytical role right now. And I think just being able to do that and oversee it really just strengthens your strategic thinking and how you're going to go about things.
Okay, next question. So I'm really excited about this question because again, kind of as advertised, what we really want to do today is kind of be real with you and tell you kind of what's really going on and how our jobs differ or how they're the same. So the question is this: how do workload and expectations compare between the two environments? And what I really want to do is challenge our panel to go beyond, oh, I'm busy because I'm busy, because I'm really busy, because everybody's busy. But what are some of the pain points that you are commonly solving within the organization? Because I think that might be the differentiator between I'm really busy, so busy because I'm busy. Some people are really good at looking like they're busy, but they're not. So without further ado, again, what are the workload expectations and how they compare between the two environments?
So I will say that in-house feels a little bit more consistent. I can usually see what's coming down the pipeline. I'm usually not getting 2 a.m. calls, thankfully. I would be asleep for that. But to kind of dive a little bit deeper into it, I have resources available to me and I'm able to pivot and I'm also able to delegate within. So if I really needed someone in membership to write that message for me at 5 o'clock because I had to go to my kid's soccer game, I could absolutely have someone and say, hey, I can't do this today. I need help. I also have the ability to go to my CEO and say, hey, this just isn't gonna happen today. I think while intimidating, it's not as frowned upon as going to a client and saying, hey, sorry, my kid's playing in a soccer tournament today and I'm not gonna do this. We know each other on a little bit more personal level. And so being able to delegate, and then just having the rapport with people, I think really helps.
I really echo a lot of what she said. That was the big appeal to me to be an in-house marketer, and to remain in-house is because you are immersed, you are very aware of how your brand exists and what is likely to happen. We talk about Mad Men, right? And I think a lot of people think of marketing as there's a group of people standing around a table, smoking cigarettes and trying to become the next Got Milk. And in reality, marketing is as predictable as the tide in most instances. Like even through COVID, we knew sort of what to expect. We knew that there were aspects we couldn't market through and we needed to work with. But for the most part, we understand how we can forecast, it's how we can discuss, it's how we can set expectations. And so with that, it's more consistent. You again have similar people around you. Obviously that changes, but you have similar people around you. You know where their strengths lie and how to leverage them. If you do need to delegate or you do need to bring someone else in, and in-house just has the opportunity to offer you that kind of consistency and that ability to kind of stand 10 toes down and say, this is what I need, this is what's going to happen, or this is what we'll be doing.
I agree with that, especially having gotten to have agency experience and coming in-house. I think that experience rang true for me. It certainly you can have your busy, like you said, everybody can't be busy, but your busyness in-house is a lot more predictable because you run on a fiscal calendar year with certain ebbs and flows to your budgets and to the way the business is running. Once you get used to your industry, you can predict your seasonality. Like in senior housing, we have a lot of really strong seasonality pull. People go home for the holidays and they see their parents and they start to wonder if maybe it's the time to look for communities. So our business skyrockets in the kind of start and first half of the year, and then we have a dip in the second half of the year when we can do a lot of our marketing strategy and planning for the next year. So I have a lot more predictability. I think when you said what becomes difficult on the busyness side, a lot of it for me, or what kind of, if you were to say what eats your time, or just the behind the scenes thing, what I talked about earlier with the translation of marketing concepts to people, that's probably the part of in-house that I enjoy it, but I wasn't expecting it to take quite as much time as it does. I have the opportunity to translate our marketing campaigns and concepts to our communities across the country. And if you work in any kind of franchise situation, this is what you'll do on the marketing team in that setup. So if you're working for a bank, restaurant business, anything with multi-site concepts going on, we do a lot of this. And so I have to help a campaign or a concept or the line item on an operator's budget that's going to Google paid ad and stack it out. I have to help them understand what that is, whether they live in Chicago, where maybe they're a little more used to seeing these concepts, or they live in rural Pennsylvania and they have 39 residents, and man, they don't even want to spend any money on any of that. Why are you making me spend money on that? So that's where a lot of the busyness on my end comes. I will be this close to finalizing a budget to send it off to our agency partners, or I've already sent it to them, and then I'm the one calling them at 2 a.m. because an investor called me and said, that's not going to work, you're going to blow our budget. And so then I have to get on the phone and fix that. So you still have your busy periods, but I think the nice thing, as these folks have said, is it's a little bit more predictable than you're going to get with agency side.
I would say it really depends on the client and how much they want to pay for it, because at the agency, with clients, you go through scoping exercises every year. So basically, the agency comes with a plan, say like, if you want us to do A, B, and C, we need this many people. Then the client can come back and like, well, we're gonna give you this amount of money and you could just get A and B. And I think if you don't have the right scope for a team, sometimes it gets really busy, or the client's just asking you to do, a lot. So on my first account, Kimberly Clark, it was COVID. It was the toilet paper company. We met our goals with sales because everybody was buying toilet paper. So they were like, we wanna onboard this retailer, we wanna onboard this retailer, to the point where I was working 7 p.m. And that was kind of on the fault of the agency saying like, hey, you want us to take on this more work? You gotta give us more people. So I've also been on teams where I've had great clients and they're like, yeah, we want you to do more. We're gonna give you 3 more headcount. And, things like that, but it really goes back to your client business. If they are a declining business and they don't have money, they're not gonna be able to fund as many people to do the job as they want. So I think at every point, it's gonna be busy during cleaning season. It's always busy. You'll figure out the ebbs and flows with your client when it's busy. I work on the retail media side. So Prime Day, I'm always busy. I'm working long days. Prime Day Deals Day that's coming up next week. I'm gonna be busy too. I work on Bissell, so if you wanna buy a vacuum, they are 25% off, so buy a vacuum. But there's just ebbs and flows and, you kind of just have to figure it out with your client. And also like when I'm interviewing for roles at an agency, I don't just look at reviews of the agency. I look up at reviews of the clients because if the client is terrible and nobody likes working there and it's a toxic environment, there's always someone smaller to bully, and that's gonna be the agency. So you wanna make sure that you're working for a good client as well too.
Yeah, I'd say the same. It's very client dependent at an agency and also very team dependent, like what expectations have been negotiated between agency and client. So for example, one client I had at a previous agency, they had negotiated that they would be able to chat us through Teams, so not just like have scheduled meetings, but chat us, and we had to respond within the hour. So, yeah, that was negotiated. Which sounds nuts. But again, it's very client dependent. Like the client I have now, they're B2B and they operate a lot in Europe. So August was a slow month because most of Europe was away on holiday. So again, really depends, but I think that's why it's important. I know this isn't part of the question, but when you're interviewing for an agency job, try to figure out what client you would be working on and get some idea. Like if you are working for a client that sells clothing, for example, you will be busy Thanksgiving, you will be busy Black Friday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Like, it's just the nature of the business. Think about when the client would be busy, when are sales happening? And then I would also ask, how does the team handle a heavy workload? What are the expectations with client communication and responsiveness? Are weekend and evening work a regular part of the job? Does it come up? Like, what are the expectations about that? Just prepare yourself as much as possible so you know what you're getting into. For a time in my life, the crazy hours and working weekends and stuff, that was fine. Now that I'm transitioning into a different part of my life, I don't want to do that as much, but everyone's different. Some people really like the adrenaline, the thrill of the busy agency life. So just depends.
Okay, so my next question for you is actually something that us students have learned in our careers class and other workshops to ask employers at an interview, which is, what do career growth and professional development opportunities look like in each of your settings? We're gonna start with the agency again.
So I've been at a couple agencies, and when you ask this question in an interview, they're going to tell you that you have opportunities to grow and learn, which is true. And they'll tell you that there is a track for promotion, which is true sometimes. I've been at an agency where I was promoted a couple times, but to be honest, the big joke in agency life is if you want to get promoted, leave and go to another agency. They would rather lose you than promote you sometimes. So often, colleagues and myself, we've left to get a better job at a different agency, and you can always boomerang later. So also never burn a bridge. Like, we've worked together before, we may work together again in the future. So there is definitely opportunity to get promoted within the agency, but I would say if it's not happening for you, don't be afraid to leave, because agency life is the one where it's totally normal to bounce around, and it's really unheard of to spend your entire career at one agency. Like, I was at Mindshare for 4 years, and when I left, I got asked in interviews, why were you there so long?
I definitely agree with everything she said, and going back to, clients in the agencies, they create contracts, and usually how they create contracts are, for associates, they're hourly, and you want hire their salary. So if you want a promotion with that client, it has to be sold in. And so some clients, they only do scope 1 time a year. So if you want a promotion, it's gonna be until the next year, until you get a promotion. Some, they could sell it in, partway through the year, but it just goes back to the agency financials. I definitely agree. Like, sometimes you want a promotion, you have to go to a different company. And I would also say, like, if you're at an agency and the environment, they're making you feel much and it's just not serving you, there's always gonna be another agency, another client to work on. I probably get LinkedIn messages every week, so definitely feel okay to leave. Nobody stays at agency like more than 2 years. Like, my current agency, I've been there for 5 years, and I'm like, oh, that means it's a good company because people actually stay. But I think the one thing I would say is, if you're at an agency, if you're on a good team, are consistently getting those wins, you know it's a good team. You know they value your work, and also always feel empowered to have those conversations with your boss. I always set goals with my boss, and every month I make sure that I'm bringing those up, so you know, where you're at, and you're continuing to have those conversations.
In-house is so different, you guys. The head of my department will commonly say that a red flag for her on a resume for our company is someone who has been, gone for, or who has hopped around in stints of 2 years or less. Like, that's a red flag for in-house. So it's, they care a lot more about tenure, they care a lot more about a long-term growth and career journey, and so they often have a kind of articulated career path and opportunities to grow within the organization outside of just the marketing department. So again, it might be less about developing particular skills, like when we see these certain skills, you advance to the next particular role, like account coordinator, account manager, account director kind of thing. But there's usually especially in bigger organizations and in-house, they will have some kind of like a leadership program or a career development track or a set of skills and goals that you're developing around the business that they track you on and you can benefit from. The other way I think you grow in-house, especially in this field in marketing, is by growing in what responsibilities you take on. So for example, I have been with this company for over 10 years. I got to intern there, and then I folded into, launch their social media platforms way back when. Senior housing's behind the times, you guys. And a lot of my growth and where I've gotten today and why I am where I am is because I kept saying, we're not doing this yet, but I think I could make it happen. Can I try? Or can I tell you what it would cost us to do this and take a stab at it? And as you grow your ability to demonstrate those skills in-house, then oftentimes, even if the exact career role is not there at the time, like my role that I'm in right now didn't exist for my company back when I started my company, but they will hand additional things on to you and make room in the structure of the company as you demonstrate the need is there.
It's a big thing. It's a big, big difference. Agency and in-house is that if you are working for a company and you are in-house, you have to think about the sunk cost. So they're getting more and more expensive. So as soon as they've hired you, they've onboarded you, and they've invested in you and your training, they want to keep you there. To the best of their abilities, they want to keep you there. And so in that, with everything you said and going on to that, if you decide that in-house is for you and you have opportunities for growth and development that your company offers, because I guarantee you other people are not. Like for country, I have got my yellow belt, my green belt in Six Sigma. I have an obscene amount of insurance designations that I got bonuses for as well, and they paid for. And I mentioned this in a class I spoke to earlier. Those are things that benefit your company. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Like they benefit them, they benefit you. So if you are in-house and you have these opportunities for you and you take advantage of them, you have leverage to say, here's what I want, like I am reaching this level of growth and productivity, I need to get a promotion. And if they say no, you get to take all of that with you. I did not lose any of those designations, I did not lose my master's degree, I did not lose any of those things just because I left the company that spent the money on it. So in addition to what we think, that is also my advice.
I don't know if it's worse going first or last. Can I sit in the middle next time? But really echoing what you both just said about in-house, and again, right, I'm looking through a very colored lens here. They invest in their people.
Yeah.
So at my company in particular, it's about $20,000 to bring someone on board.
Yep.
So if someone's not happy, I know that I have room to be like, is it a money thing? Let's talk about it. As far as professional development goes, absolutely. We pay $5,000 a semester for tuition reimbursement. So as long as you get a passing grade, and again, you take that with you. You could absolutely get your degree and then walk out the door. But if we're investing in you, we find that most employees will be loyal to that company. And so I think that that's one of the things that, you know, if you are going to choose an in-house way, ask those questions, look for it. Look at how long people have been there. I have people working at my company that have actually been there longer than I've been alive. And you don't always find that, but it is a green flag, I'll say, when you do see that. And the other thing that I will say is, yeah, there are traps for people. But when I came onto the scene at FMA about 3.5 years ago, I personally have created 3 positions on my team because I've shown that it's resources that we need to develop the company even further, because association life is probably on par with senior living. We're pretty far behind, okay? So, yeah, right, social media, we don't need that. So that is something, there's a little bit more flexibility, and because I've been able to do that, I've been able to promote people within my team, which is pretty cool.
Okay, we're running low on time. 2 things. First one, I used to run a couple of departments myself in my career. I recently left a Boyd Group, which was Gerber Collision and Glass, so we had over 800 locations and whatnot. The one thing I would like to just stress is your career is in your hands. And you need to not only raise your hand when you're in these interviews and ask what those opportunities are, but as a manager, I need you to follow up. I will tell you all the things that are available to you. If you are interested in getting a certain type of experience, I will go out of my way to help you make it happen, but it has to come from you. And that's something that drove me crazy, because someone would come in my office and be like, I want to be promoted. And it's just like, why is it a good idea for the company? What does the company get out of, you doing something different or making more money? And what you have to look at it from their perspective. So again, it's just, know what you want, and also make sure you continue to try and go after it, because your boss isn't going to be like, oh, yeah, did you take that class? Did you sign up for it? It really has to come from you. So I'm going to off my soapbox. We have time for one more question, because we want to hear from you. And our last question is for our panel. What do you wish people knew about working in an agency or in-house marketing team? And you know what? Why don't we start in the middle? Let's start with senior living first.
Start with senior living. No one ever. People knew.
I wanted to, okay, that's fine. what I wish people knew, oh man. This is a little bit less about marketing specifically, if that's okay. I don't know what's allowed, I'm gonna do it. This is about senior housing. I think that my very favorite thing about what I get to do is how much I get to care about exactly the end result of what I get to do. And not that, you know, you don't care as much if you go one direction or the other, but we've talked on the in-house side about how you get so deeply invested in one brand. And I love and adore and wish more people knew that. I think that's the opportunity with in-house marketing is I know by name and face the seniors who are at our communities because they saw an ad I created or they got a direct mail campaign that we sent to their house and their adult child saw our commercial on CTV ad and said, actually, yeah, I do need to start talking to mom about moving in. And they've lived there 8 years now and their life has totally changed. And that I wouldn't have gotten to talk people into, the people who have the money for me to give to the agencies to partner with to bring these things about, if I didn't get to spend as much time as I do in my industry and getting really immersed in what we do, why we do it, and the difference it makes. So I think what I wish people knew is that, you know, on the in-house side, those people really get to know their business. They really, really, really get to know the ins and outs of what they do. And it's one of the things I love so much about what I get to do. Well, that's like they come back.
Sounds good. I guess the biggest thing is not all agencies are the same. I worked for 2 of the top 3 agencies. I worked for WPP. I worked for Omnicom, and they're all doing big things, trying to expand, trying to make sure, fighting for all of the top clients. But now I work at a smaller agency, and I think it's almost like in-house because they just care more. They care about your development. You're a little bit more scrappy because you're smaller and you don't have all of the support, but it's an actual team. They prioritize mental health and I work from home. My fiance works from home. My last job, I would not see him for 8 hours in the day. But here they're like, oh, take a break. Go get lunch, work out in the middle of the day. And they're like, yeah, we have flexible hours. I'm like, flexible hours? I've never heard of that before. So I think not all agencies are the same. Ask the right questions, find the agency that is your fit. You could have a long career at an agency, learn a lot, grow, get to work on a lot of amazing clients. Like my first client was Kimberly Clark. I still only buy Kimberly Clark products. Then I worked on S.E. Johnson, still only buy S.E. Johnson products. Then I worked on L'Oreal and now I worked on Bissell. I've worked on so many different products and I learned and I never knew something that I did selling paper products, I would be able to apply to selling vacuums. So definitely learn, find an agency that's the right fit for you.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything. Like the mid-size or smaller ones tend to have that more flexibility because mine's similar. It's finally that good balance. But I would say one thing I wish people knew is just because you're in digital marketing and you choose a sales job doesn't mean you aren't selling. You are selling your ideas and your strategy. So as uncomfortable as it may be, you need to be able to get in front of the client and be comfortable presenting. Like I make so many PowerPoints and talk through them because that's just how we present our ideas. So you may not be, you know, selling as hard as in a sales role, but you're still technically selling because you have to get that client to trust you and buy into what you are recommending.
I was just building off of that because a lot of this, like, we are different in some ways. And we've highlighted those differences. In a lot of ways, we are the same in what we do, personality-wise, and everything like that. As some of you are preparing to step into the working world, just know that if you choose wrong, it's gonna be okay. You are on a floating rock in space, baby. It's gonna be okay. It's not that serious. It's like, it is serious in the way that it's your job. It's just not that serious in the way that there aren't other jobs out there. Like, it's gonna be okay. If you get in and you decide that, like, I love agency because I you know, get to meet different clients and they get to learn at this different level. And, you know, there's parts of it you don't like, or you get into in-house, and you're like, this is boring. I see like Cheryl every day, I'm over it. Like, it's gonna be okay. You are going to leverage the education and the experience that you have, and you're going to leverage your personality and the way that you work and speak to people. I mean, if you get out into the working world and you're like, man, marketing is not what I thought, it's going to be okay. We can make pivot. Like, I have an undergraduate degree in communications, media management, promotions, and sales. That allowed me to utilize the social science I learned, but like, I've never had a comm job. Like, I've only had marketing. And being in marketing, when I decided that like, it was time for something new, I did it. Be okay. Okay? Don't have nightmares about it. Thank you. Do not have nightmares about it. Do not stress about it. Like, job hunting is hard, and like, thinking about what the next 5, 10 years looks like. Whenever I am asked that in a job interview, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? Girl, I don't know what I want to do in the next 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm taking lunch like on the razor's edge. I don't know. But like, at the end of it, think like, I don't care what I'm doing in 5 years. I just want to be happy. I want to not like have Sunday scaries, and I want to be happy. And that's enough.
That is really hard to follow up. I'm just there. But I feel like we're going a little off script here, but, just kind of echoing, I think what everyone's kind of getting at is, you know, I wish people knew that it's not the end all be all, right? So you might want to be in-house and realize that you want to be an agency. You might be in marketing and realize that you don't want to be in marketing. Nothing's glamorous. Don't stay somewhere where you're not happy. I too, I have a business degree and I minored in marketing and I pivoted. You're never too old to pivot, in any of your careers. And so I would just encourage you to pursue what makes you happy. Make the mistakes now. Mistakes aren't quite as high, right? Like, don't do it when you're 50. That might really screw up your retirement. But to, you know, find where you fit. And in-house, there's a bunch of different in-house, right? So some people are cool working. I have a girlfriend and she really wanted to work at United Airlines. That's her thing. She was all about it. And then she realized that you had to request a meeting just to meet with HR to talk about your benefits. If that's cool with you, that's awesome. I could walk into HR's office on a Friday and say, hey, I really need to talk to you about a problem I'm having, and they will stop what they're doing. So figure out what size company you want to be with if you do go in-house. This is where we drop the mic.
Yeah.
Like, just throw it.
It is. Do you want me to introduce?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, first off, can we just give a round of applause? And just to everybody that's been involved in putting this together, you know, we really, I think, are trying to give you an idea of kind of what we've experienced, but now it's your turn. Do you have any questions for us? And, you know, we will open it up, and if you don't, Professor Crawford's gonna start, so.
I can go on for a while, as many of you know. So,
Oh,
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask?
sure.
Oh, okay, I'll
We'll
let
start,
you do it.
we'll start, I saw the hands.
Now, if you have questions, you're just gonna say it really loud because we can't run the mic. Sorry.
I'm just gonna throw it.
That's for Christina. Do you think in your industry, in this industry, that AI eventually will be more part of your job? Consider it director, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, AI, right. Yes, it is. So a lot of the AI discussions in my industry are on the healthcare side. It's on the technology that's happening on the healthcare side, the advances we can make in how we care for seniors to make their days better, to lower labor costs. That sounds so glamorous, I know. But where that comes in on marketing is how can we advertise some of those ways that we're using AI? So I have a lot of conversations with our clinicians, and state regulations are different in every state. So in some states, we're able to implement some cool things that we can't do in other states because of the person-to-person ratio required. And so you can't have a machine do certain things. It's very interesting and kind of complex in that regard. But so we're doing a lot with AI on that side of the business, and then we get to market and figure out how do we talk about AI in our digital presence, on our website, in our advertisements, et cetera. But we do use AI and leverage it on the marketing side. And so a lot of what my responsibility is learning, and I have a lot of conversations with our agency partners, about what is up and coming and how could it be applied for some of the strategies we're doing right now. We get there, we're just like 7 years behind. So I did our first round of digital marketing budgets myself, in 2019. That was the first time we as a company had a cohesive, comprehensive, significant investment in our digital marketing. And that was the biggest deal on the face of the earth. We had to talk, pitch deck, holy cow. We had to talk our investors into that one so hard. And then they got obsessed with QR codes for a while and, then everybody, they want all buses. Anyway, so a lot of what we do with AI is what is coming up, what are other people using, and what are we doing now that we could start to feather that in. I use AI a lot for running creative tests. We work with a data partner called Oculytics that specializes in collection of senior housing prospect data and adult children data. And so we're working on AI modeling right now to test creative campaigns to have more efficient budgets. A little more behind the scenes there.
And that's work with more projects.
I would say, depending on the team, most agencies, you have like a three-year contract, so you're just managing all of the campaigns. And usually a lot of clients will have always on campaigns. So like, I work on the retail media team, I work on the Amazon US team. We have consistent like retail search and display that's running. So that's what we're doing every day. It's just the added things. When we get ad hoc asks, that can make it be a little bit busy and during like planning time. Because you have to do your work, but then you also have to plan for that. So I would say it's fast paced. Most of the time it's normal, but it can get a little bit busier.
I'm open to it in the future. I'm really happy at my current agency, so I don't feel the need to leave. But in the future, I could see that, especially if I want something that is a bit more like consistent and I want to really immerse myself. There isn't really a brand that I have in mind though. There were some in the past, but then after having them as clients or hearing about them as clients, that dream has left.
I would say it's the same. I think, throughout my career, I've always thought about it, moving to in-house. Maybe one day I will move to in-house. I think the transition's a little bit tricky to get in-house sometimes from agency, because sometimes they want an MBA or they want 10 years of experience. So, I'm happy where I'm at now. Maybe one day I will make the transition to in-house. And when I do make that transition, I'm very lucky in my role right now, I'm remote. If I make the transition to in-house, I live in the suburbs now, so the company has to be and it has to be only like 2 days. I really like being remote right now.
Yeah, 2 questions over there. And then, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to keep going with Q&A. It is 5:35, so if you did need to go, I completely understand. The QR codes for extra credit are up there, but before you all leave, let's keep our Q&A going. If you don't need to go, we'd love to have you.
We had 2 questions.
Okay. Do so quietly, please. Okay.
Which one do you see?
Can we go ahead and get your question?
Right through.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is been your experience with digital accessibility, both in digital marketing and in the work? It's forever, but I'm sorry.
All right, so in-house for digital accessibility and also, so I graduated with my undergrad in, 2015. And that was when Google AdWords and, social media marketing was really getting its stride. And so you had to go into a boardroom of people that were 50 plus and like not interesting to look at and like explaining to them, these are the cutting edge ways of marketing and reaching a new demographic or reaching the target demo that you're still not interacting with. And then you had to listen to them say, well, how can we prove ROI? How can we do all of these things? And like, you had to explain these very specific terms to marketing professionals that had never studied this, had never run into it. And so it was an uphill climb, and I still run into that. So, at Country, we openly have a technological deficit. We are only just now rolling out opportunities for quote estimates. And in a state, we have a quote tool. But like State Farm is bindable opportunity, meaning we take money before your policy. They have bindable opportunities. And so it is a difficult thing, and oftentimes you feel like you're the only person speaking. And you have to be the loudest, but you have to be the clearest, the most concise, and like don't have the benefit of having other people kind of on your side. So you have to be clear with how this aligns, and like things is that it's very tough to not have a misstep or a fumble in what you're saying. But recognizing that we have a deficiency in what we're doing digitally, and combat this by slowly introducing that and having an in-house marketing team, tech team is what allows me to do that throughout my career and such.
Oh.
What might happen is you might have someone do it for you, or you could get sued. And, California really likes that. And they like, they have a lot of, carpetbagger type lawyers and attorneys that will, just let you know that your website isn't up to par. And, thanks to them, out of the goodness of their heart, you can pay a fee and you can fix it. So, it's a thing, and if you don't do it, they'll come find you. Not scary,
yeah.
but
There's a positive side to this. I can put a spin.
All right.
Classic marketer spin. If you are on the in-house side and you're facing this, the fun part that I found in this is that you get to see a lot of growth really fast. Because you know it's gonna work and your agency knows it's gonna work and you're all like, come on, just say yes, let me show you. And then you get it and they're like, wow, look at this digital marketing stuff. We got leads. And you're like, yeah, you did. So that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun.
It's a good marketing.
And I will say, for clients that I've worked on, when we've had cuts to Mika, or we've had times where we didn't have digital marketing live, we could see it in analyses that we did. Their business would just go down because they knew about their new products. Nobody knew where to buy. Nobody got the reminder like, hey, you need the vacuum or you need some blades. So then their sales just went down because we weren't reaching those people. Needed that reminder to go and buy our product. So we see like with a lot of our clients that they don't run digital marketing. They're not gonna do that. It's just a world we're in right now, and if their competitors are running digital marketing and they aren't, they're gonna be losing. They're gonna be losing.
Questions? We can totally geek out. We love those.
I think our time is.
Heidi. Yes.
I would say I'm scrappy. I am a nerd and I like learning everything. So just being that dependable person where if there's a question, people can come to you, ask questions. Also, like she mentioned, like being able to accurately and clearly share ideas and when clients ask you questions, answer them and just seeing LinkedIn articles, having a larger view of ideas, I think that's what has definitely.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. It could be something, like I mentioned, like kind of raising your hand, so asking your boss, like, oh, I noticed you always present that report to the client, and I present one slide next time? Or how do you do that data analysis? I really want to try to do that next time. And I was able to also grow in my career because I was always asking, like, are there any open roles on other teams? That's how I was able to get like promoted and stay within my agency. So that's another way as well. I think reading LinkedIn articles is super important. Like always be bringing your point of view and staying up to date on industry knowledge. No one is going to assign you like reading anymore, but it's up to you to make sure you know what is going on in the industry and reading those different, there are so many like industry blogs. LinkedIn's a great source, just making sure you know what's happening even beyond what you specifically are.
So for me, a lot of the things, like you are staying up to date on how things, because again, like what is industry is honest right now, big is red, it's gonna take over. Like knowing that makes you valuable, being willing to understand that makes you invaluable. Another thing is, again, like if you from an in-house perspective and you have additional things, like your company is going to pay for this, they're going to pay whatever, do that. Lots of people do not. Like right now, there's a specific program within and as a developer on the tech side, you can grow. And I got a $2,000 bonus for just getting a insurance designation that took classes. They paid for the classes, paid for the coursework, and I got a $2,000 bonus. When I looked at what they paid out, my $2,000 bonus is in line with $6,000 paid out to others. Like no one else is doing it. It takes time. And like I'm someone that has 3 kids. Like that time is precious, but like also being willing to accomplish those things, not only for myself but for them, is something that like you have to find that motivation. But like the opportunities are there if you're willing to find them. And so I think that is really valuable. It gives you the opportunity to really stand out, especially.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that, it's always the joke of if you call something out that's deficient in your company, you automatically get more work. However, that is, how you can really look at the business from a strategical standpoint and make call outs. So I mentioned that we're creating a new role at my company. It's because I called out that we don't really have a PR communication plan. And you wouldn't think that there's gonna be a crisis in manufacturing, but lo and behold, I've had a couple in the last couple of years. And so when they created the role, they're like, well, do you want to step into it? No, thank you. I like being behind the screen, but I can't wait to promote someone into it. So really looking at the business as a critical eye and making call outs and saying like, hey, who's setting that up? And if you want to take a crack at it, by all means, you know, that's a great way to grow your role if you like being in front of everyone.
One, big thing, quote, luck favors the prepared. Luck favors the prepared. Put yourself in situations where you can be found. I have been blown away by the NIU Alumni Network. Is your LinkedIn, you know, how is your LinkedIn profile? Yeah, I don't think any of us would ignore a LinkedIn invite from you. So start talking to people. And this is a true story. Someone that I'd worked with a couple years ago asked me to talk to his daughter. And she was a total fan of the Poppy brand. And she reached out to them during COVID. They gave her an internship and she now works on their brand. Just because she was kind of fangirling their brand. So, you just never know what happens. I can trace my entire career back to just passing out resumes. And an internship from McDonald's from just passing out resumes. Luck favors prepared. No one's gonna come looking for you if you don't put yourself in front of them. So that's something that, to get your start, again, it's just, you just kind of have to keep trying. And, put yourself in front of people. It's really scary, really hard. At the same time, it just, if you want to be found and you're not doing anything about it, then you might need to wonder, like, kind of how that strategies work. But that coffee story is real. Anything else? Or do you?
So I was just.
For you.
I want to. How many do? And what did you do? Marketing, like.
Go down the line here. So as I alluded to before, my major in undergrad was fashion business. Not doing that anymore. I decided to pivot in marketing when I decided that traveling 3 weeks out of the month was not for me. I wanted to be more stationary. I really wanted a job too, and you can't have that when you're out of town. And so to get into marketing, I think the biggest theme in my career has been self-taught. So I always tell people that I learned graphic design from the YouTube Academy, which you guys all have access to. And so I sat there and I figured it out. You guys have no idea how lucky you are to live in the age with Canva. I use that. It's like, why didn't this exist 10, 15 years ago? But really being able to figure it out for yourself and take on that challenge. If you don't know something, figure out how to do it. There's so many resources at your fingertips that are free that will allow you to be able to do that.
So as I said, my undergraduate major was communications, media management, promotion. I was a transfer student to ISU, so I went to community college the first years, and then when I got to go into normal, as a first generation college student, and then also like my parents worked hourly wage jobs, like, I mean, we did not have anything, and so my parents didn't like know anybody, and I didn't know how important internships were. I did not know what a portfolio looked like. I did not know any of those things. And I felt like I was the only one that didn't. And I didn't know who to ask because I wasn't introduced to a lot of that as a transfer. And so I went into to ISU with this huge deficiency I didn't know about until right before I graduated. And so I did not get the chance to take advantage of internships. I do highly recommend them. Working within country, I can see how many people I work with that have worked there for their entire career because they started as an intern and that became a full-time position. I think that an internship, in my experience, as an outsider and someone that's with people that took advantage of it as a peer, I think the internship is what allowed them to demonstrate their value. More than their kind of portfolio, just like more than a resume really could. You usually have homework assignments, things like that when you reach a specific level in the corporate role. And you have that so you can demonstrate what you know and your value. And so that's kind of my answer to that.
I totally knew I wanted to do senior housing for the rest of my life. When I was 18. No, I studied journalism specifically. I did public relations and advertising. So I knew I wanted to do something adjacent to the space, but I really did think I was going to be in an agency for the rest of my life. I was so excited about it. And I think, so you tagged on internships. I won't repeat that. Internships, yes. I ended up as an intern somewhere and I haven't left because I ended up loving it so much. But the thing I will add is one of the things that helped me the most was finding a really great mentor. And I was very blessed to come in contact with a really awesome couple of mentors early on. And you're not always that blessed, or you don't always work somewhere where you get to have that kind of relationship right away when you're young in your career. But I would say anytime you encounter someone where you're like, I want to learn from that person, or that person runs meetings really well, I want to learn how they did that, or that person presents really well, or that person does whatever it is, so like really well. 9 times, I might even say 10 times out of 10, they won't turn down, like, if you come to say, hey, can I get an hour on the calendar? I'd love to buy you coffee, offer them coffee, they probably drink it and want it. And say, can I get an hour on your calendar? I would really love to know how you ran that meeting and how you came in so prepared. Or I'd really love to pick your brain on how to, show up a certain way, or how to grow my ability to communicate, or how to ask better questions and listen better to what the client needs on the agency side. The faster you can get in touch with a couple good mentors, or even people that you can send things to or bounce. I've sent things to mentors before saying, I owe someone this, will you just look at it before I send it on? Will you take a look at it and tell me if anything looks funky or sideways before I send it on, or does this not make sense? And they will always, they'll tell me if they can't, and I'm like, that's okay, totally fine. But then they'll usually tell me what I would have to do to get their eyes on it next time. So the faster you can do that, it's gonna benefit you.
Yeah, so I was a marketing major. If you asked me when I was 18 what I wanted to be, it was a party planner, but my dad said, let's have realistic life goals. So I majored in the next thing, which was marketing. I did have an internship. I had an internship through the sales program at UPS. I took one of my first sales class. He was the person who interviewed me. He's like, I'll give you an internship. I learned so much from that internship because I learned that I hate sales. I could not go, they made me at this internship go to random businesses and ask how they ship. And I'm like, this is so exciting inducing right now. So I feel like for my internship, I learned I didn't want to do sales. I had watched Mad Men. I knew about the agency life. I knew that it wasn't exactly like that. Like I said, I was not looking for agencies. Agencies kind of found me. But I think, again, how I've been super successful in agencies, kind of like you talking about mentors, is also not great to go to. I think the head of our Chicago office, everybody thought it was so weird. At a happy hour, I just went up to him as an associate and introduced myself to him. And so like, why don't you put an hour on our calendar? Let's talk about how you're liking it as a company. Because they want to learn from people. They want to make sure that the people at their company are happy. I also, to this day, I have one-on-ones with my manager. I also have one-on-ones with my manager's boss. Because if it comes to a promotion, they're gonna have to be asking their boss for a promotion. And if you know your boss's boss, they're like, oh yeah, can you talk to me about that? I really like her. I think she deserves it. And your boss doesn't even need to fit you because their boss already knows what good work that you do. So, yeah, I guess talk to people, do an internship to kind of figure out what you want. I figured out I didn't want to do sales, but maybe you'll figure out like her. Something that she really liked and she for a long time.
Yeah, I'd say do an internship if you can. It can be a little harder to find a digital one, so even if it's not digital specific, like if you do a sales one, that's okay, you have something. But more important, like if for some reason, I don't know, you work a lot and internship just doesn't happen, think of anything else. Like, are there any organizations you can join here right now that you can do? Are there side projects? It's free to get Google Ads certified. Like, can you do some certifications on your own? Because you have to think about in that interview, I'm not necessarily hiring someone who's done a ton of internships and knows everything. I'm looking at, is this person adaptable? Can they show me the willingness to learn to do the job? So how do you sell yourself that way? So maybe you didn't have an internship, but maybe you led a group project. Maybe you self-taught yourself something. Maybe you make sure the skills that you list show that you are a desirable candidate, you have a strong attention to detail, you're organized, whatever it is. So just think about it from that lens. I did an internship and I think it was helpful, but I also understand that not everyone may be able to do that. So think about other ways you can sell yourself and show like, okay, I may not have that exact experience, but these are the skills I do have. I know I could do it for you. Just give me the chance.
Any other questions? No. Do you have anything you want to say to finish up, or?
Well, thank you for staying.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the mic, I don't wanna shout. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight, I especially staying to listen to some Q&A. If our moderators and guest speakers are okay with it, I'd love just, if we can have a few minutes to mingle, if you wanna chat with them, come on up and say hello. Otherwise, thank you guys so much. I hope to run another digital panel in the spring too, so keep an eye out for that, it's gonna be a lot of fun, but let's have another more round of applause for our. Oh, and don't miss it, the QR code if you are in marketing 395 or 295, QR code here for credit as well as cash.